After 4 episodes, I can confidently say Peacemaker is one of the best superhero shows ever. What's going on, guys? I'm Chris, and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be giving you my spoiler review / breakdown of Peacemaker Episode 4. Now, if you are not watching this show, what are you doing? You gotta get on it. It's one of the best shows on TV right now. But before I get into this, make sure to hit that like button, comment your thoughts on Peacemaker Episode 4 down below, as well as the show so far in general, and make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any future Peacemaker reviews, superhero content, and all that good stuff. Spoilers for Peacemaker Episode 4 in 3, 2, 1. So this episode essentially opens right where the last left off, as we found out that the butterflies are now this kind of globe-spanning thing. We're not really sure what the butterflies are. They're just these little things that can go into humans' brains and take control of their body. So that's kind of where we leave off. We just see the team kind of recovering from that. But a main portion of this episode focuses on Peacemaker finding out that his dad is actually in jail for crimes committed by Peacemaker himself. So this obviously makes him upset. He's not really happy with the team because of this. And this leads to some really interesting conflict and plot lines that we see come up throughout this episode. For example, Peacemaker goes to the prison that his dad is at to try and talk to him, and he ends up visiting him for a bit, but his dad's not really keen on this whole situation and basically says, all I have to do is go tell these guys in the investigation that they need to check the fingerprints again, and I'm going to get out of here scot-free. So that obviously creates some tension, and our good friend Vigilante, who might not be the brightest bulb, is out there with Peacemaker waiting outside the prison, and Adebayo's there as well. And Adebayo, in a sense, kind of convinces him to go and maybe kill Peacemaker's dad, and he takes that and runs with it. And this is a really great episode for Vigilante as a character, because we get to see him kick some ass at times, but also take command. And while it's not the smartest decision for him to make, because it could jeopardize the entire Project Butterfly mission and just the whole way the team functions, I think that it's good to see him go out there and kind of take initiative. He's definitely not afraid, but at the same time, he still kind of has a few screws loose in his head and borders on being psychopath at times. So he's a very complex character in that sense. But we also get to see Peacemaker come to terms with the fact that his father really is a terrible person, and we see this inner conflict with him where, yes, my dad's my family and I love him, but at the same time, he's a really bad person, and Peacemaker's trying his hardest to kind of look at this blindly and be like, no, he's my dad, he raised me, I love him, but at the same time, he's done some awful things and honestly raised him poorly. As we get hints at early on, something suspicious with the way that Peacemaker was raised, and some incident in particular is referred to by Adebayo, which we would later find out when Peacemaker goes to a bar and sees Harcourt, that Peacemaker actually had something to do with the death of his own brother, and that is all because of Peacemaker's father. So this is a very interesting through line throughout the show so far, is this family relationship. It touches on this fact that a lot of people feel this obligation to love their family to the most just because they're blood, but in reality, it's a really terrible situation Peacemaker's in, so it's probably smarter for him to cut ties with his dad, but he doesn't really know if he has the guts to do it because he's his father, and he might be scared of him, honestly. So there's a lot going on there, but I think the best scene in this episode by far is a scene towards the end of the episode, where we see Peacemaker smoking some weed, drinking some alcohol, really damaged and really at a low point. He's dancing to this song, and the soundtrack, by the way, is outstanding in this episode and the show so far. I mean, James Gunn, I tweeted this, he's the master of soundtracks in my opinion. He never misses. The man has great music taste, and he inserts that into every single one of his pieces of movie or TV to a T. The guy's just a genius. But in this scene in the episode, we see Peacemaker dancing to this music, really just at a low point, kind of depressed, honestly. And there's a flashback to him with his dad as a young kid, and there's this dude chained up to a chair, and Peacemaker ends up killing him when he's like 10 years old. And then we get to see more flashbacks of Peacemaker with his brother, who again has the seizure, it looks like, where he falls down, and we don't see the aftermath of it, but we see Peacemaker in present day holding a picture of him and his brother. And I found this really interesting because his brother could still be out there. We don't know if his brother is fully dead or not. And I was talking to some friends after the episode, and there's some really interesting theories going on out there. I'll get into those in a second, but I really want to give credit to John Cena for his acting in this scene in particular, because I mean, he hit me right here, right in the chest. Like, this scene was so well directed, so well written, as it seamlessly flowed from present day John Cena kind of mourning the loss of his brother and the decisions he's made in his life, going back to the actual events that occurred. And I think it was really seamlessly done. It was a beautiful scene, almost moved me to tears, honestly. And John Cena's acting chops are really great. Like, I didn't think he had it in him. And it's crazy viewing, you know, this goofy character from the Peacemaker movie and taking him into his own show and kind of humanizing him in a way. That's what the show has done so far, and I think it's done it wonderfully. And on top of the flashbacks to him and his brother and killing this random guy, we see the flashback scene to the Suicide Squad where he kills Rick Flag. And that's one of the most gut-wrenching scenes in the Suicide Squad movie. So seeing that here and how it's still taking a toll on Peacemaker as a character great stuff. I think it's really well directed by James Gunn. And I know there's a lot of interesting theories floating around, at least from what I've heard with my friend. I was talking to him after the episode. Some people are saying his brother could still be alive, and his brother simply didn't remember who he was after the seizure because he could have had like a brain incident. And one really interesting theory I've heard is that Rick Flag could actually be Peacemaker's brother, and Amanda Waller was just withholding this information from Peacemaker so it didn't get in the way of the actual mission. Because after his brother quote-unquote died in the flashback, who knows what happened after that? He could have got taken to a hospital, sent to another family. Peacemaker's dad might not have really wanted anything to do with this incident, so who really knows what happened? I'm sure we're going to get more details in that flashback, and from what it looks like, Peacemaker could have hit him. I'm not sure, he's got a bloodied mouth and he's having a seizure, so again, it's definitely something to do with the head injury, and we're going to see the aftermath of that further in more flashbacks, I would assume. His brother could still be alive, he could be Rick Flag, that would be one of the craziest reveals ever. I don't see that happening, it's just a fun little theory. Another theory I thought of is what if his brother's Vigilante? Doesn't really add up though, because Vigilante looks younger than John Cena, and again, I just don't think that would really work, but it would be a pretty crazy reveal. However, I just don't really see that happening, but the whole brother storyline is going to have massive impacts on Peacemaker's character and his arc throughout the rest of the show. I'm very excited to see where they go with that. But another character that's really expanded upon this episode is Adebayo, who of course we found out in earlier episodes, she is the daughter of Amanda Waller, who is this evil, menacing presence in the DC universe. And seeing her actually have to kill somebody, we don't know if he's dead, but she actually shoots Judo Meister, who escapes, by the way, from his little restraints that he was on, and Judo Master is in the middle of a fight with Peacemaker, and then he gets shot in the chest and looks dead, but he's still breathing. I think he's still alive. And Peacemaker has this really funny line. He's like, I was going to win that round, because they were having a rematch, so I really liked their little back and forth there. But Adebayo is a character who, again, one of the more intriguing characters in the show, because she is the daughter of Amanda Waller, and no one else on this team knows that. And she's starting to really feel conflicted about her role here, and almost uncomfortable in a way. She doesn't really want to be out here killing people or doing dirty work, essentially. So I love what they're doing with her character, and I know they're building up to a moment or a reveal where she has to tell the rest of the team that she is the daughter of Amanda Waller. And I think that's going to be a great scene. I mean, I know that the music's going to be bopping because James Gunn's the guy when it comes to music choice, but I'm already ready for that scene. There's so much going on in this show, so many underlying plots, whether it is Peacemaker's dad in prison and he's the White Dragon, whether it's Peacemaker trying to come to terms with his past. You've got Harcourt, who seems very alone. She's always at that bar drinking. Adebayo and her relationship with her family as well as her mother. Economos just being this goofball. All of these crazy elements are coming together to create a show with a very interesting tone, because it's comedic at times and it's really funny, but then it turns around and gets serious when it needs to be, and that's why I love the show so far. It balances tones very well. James Gunn clearly has a vision for the show, and each episode gives us just enough to leave us satisfied while also making us want to come back for the next week. When I finish an episode of this show, I don't feel empty. I feel full. Like if I went to sit down, I didn't eat enough food. That's kind of how some of those MCU shows make me feel. It's like, okay, I didn't get enough out of this episode. This is filling me up every single week while also making me want that dessert, which is going to be the next week's episode. And that's what I love about Peacemaker. It's satisfying my wants every single week, and it's furthering the story every week, which I think is essential for a superhero show. And the big cliffhanger this week left me pretty shocked. We actually see Adebayo doing further investigating on this case, trying to figure out more about like maybe Peacemaker's past or the Butterfly Project, all these different things, and she ends up calling Myrn, who's at his house on his couch, and he says, okay, I'll be right over. And then he hangs up the phone, and he's sitting very strange, and you're like, what's going on here? And then he, sure enough, picks up the bowl with that weird honey stuff in it that the butterfly's like, and his tongue comes out, revealing that he is a butterfly. Massive plot twist for Peacemaker so far, as Myrn is officially a butterfly. He's going to have to bite the dust at some point. I mean, this is getting crazy. The main person in charge of this operation is a butterfly, and it's just getting nuts. I don't even know where the show's going to head, and that's what I love about it, is it's just unpredictable at this point. We knew the Suicide Squad was unpredictable with characters dropping left and right, but Peacemaker's unpredictable with these cliffhangers coming out of left and right when I am all in on Peacemaker. Loving every episode we've got so far. I'd have to say episode 4 is my favorite, as it has some cool little action scenes, especially the fight between Peacemaker and Judo Master. The comedy works as always, but this is the most emotionally resonant episode so far. That really felt like a gut punch when I watched it, and I'm really buying into Peacemaker as a character. And I'm very happy to say that this show is expanding my love for the Suicide Squad, a movie that I already love, as I can kind of view Peacemaker through a different lens. He's really getting layered here, and he's one of the better DC characters right now. But I loved this episode. I hope you guys did too. Let me know what you thought in the comments down below. Make sure to hit the like button. Comment your thoughts on Peacemaker so far. Are you loving it? Are you hating it? Do you think it's mid? I want to know all that in the comments down below. Stay tuned for next week, as I will have my spoiler review for episode 5 of Peacemaker out then. Peace.